Welcome, everybody. This is episode 3 of Madera Music, and I am Dorian Wallace, and this is my partner in crime, DeMarisa Steely.
Hey, guys.
And today, we're going to be talking about a trip that you just did last week, DeMarisa.
Yes.
This is with Hala to Chicago. So just, tell us a little bit about everything you did.
Sure. So I was in Chicago for the NARCG conference. It's a conference on restorative justice practices. So it was awesome. I was with Hala. So we led a healing justice circle around where stakeholders struggle in their leadership. And that was the grounding question is, where do you struggle in your leadership? And what do you do? Like, what practices do you have to bring hope to that? And it was an awesome conversation. We were in the room with probably about 50 to 75 people, professionals who are also, in other organizations that do work centered around restorative justice. The keynote speaker was amazing. He talked a lot about the ills of just the community as it relates to white supremacy. What I loved is that he didn't encourage a racial divide, but what he did do is encourage honesty and truth. And I love that message because I find that we're all a part of the fight. And we're all impacted by the war, some more than others, not undermining any group's experience. But I think as long as we prioritize honesty and authenticity, real change can happen. So that was awesome. And I think our circle also reflected that. People were really vulnerable, talking about their experiences at work, in white spaces, in community, organizationally. Because that's the other thing we don't talk about is that a lot of us are in the work and are just struggling amongst organizations for various reasons. For some, it's just lack of support. For others, it's capitalism, and just kind of this self-centered way of operating, not really acknowledging the power in community.
It's
organizations. Yeah.
It's like the capitalist way of addressing the world is so individualistic.
Yep.
It's not communal based. And I mean that's one of the issues that I know you and I have had in work environments where there should be solidarity. There's such a structured hierarchy that people are actually nervous to even step out of line because they're worried about what will happen to themselves. They're not considering, right. Yeah. And then of course, that particular critique is for all people, but it gets even more intense and more hostile for people of color because there is already a target on your back in white spaces, and there's much more micromanaging and much more microaggressions being thrown at you, and you're also not able to respond and have it be received in a productive manner. So it's almost like I don't want to quantify it, but it's a lot more. So anyways, continue.
Yeah, definitely. And those are some of the issues that came up. We were also able to touch on how discouraging it is as a woman of color to operate in predominantly white spaces, predominantly white-led spaces in terms of professional environments, and how those spaces tend to cut down your self-esteem. They negatively impact your self-talk. You begin to doubt yourself and doubt your abilities, and just so it was good to let the pressure out in that way. because I can imagine for a lot of folks, professionally, there aren't many opportunities to just be transparent and live in your truth. Folks are also just not asking you, like a lot of us are doing this healing work, this restorative work, but we're also not providing spaces for us to heal either. You know what I mean? Like we don't come to lunch, go to lunch and like, so girl, how is your leadership struggling? How can I help you bring hope to that? So it was just really good. Everyone was just super excited to be in community with us. That was day one. Day two, we went to the Fred Hampton Jr. house.
Now, I'm just going to put a pause on this.
Yes.
So I know you and I are all in this world.
Yes.
So, but who is Fred Hampton and what is the Fred Hampton house? And
so Fred Hampton was a Black Panther. He is a pillar of the Black Panther movement. It's hard to summarize what he's done. He started the Rainbow Coalition, which was a combination of the Black Panthers, the Young Lords, and I forget the third party. But they were all out just fighting for Black liberation and Black and brown rights and love. He was a part of the group that started like the food programs for young people. And the Hampton House was the house that they operated out of for their food programming. Well, yes, the Hampton House is the house they operate out for their food programming and other community supports. The Hampton House that we went to was the house that he grew up in. Because it's very interesting. I'm so surprised. The culture of Chicago, it seems or appears to be very Afrocentric or centralized. But they tore down the Hampton House, which to me should have been like a historical monument. So we got to see the mural. It's called The Wall now. So I definitely got to go to the wall and take some photos and like just pour some libations for the ancestors. We did a circle there. It was awesome. But being in the Fred Hampton Jr. house, which was the house that Fred Hampton grew up in, his son is now taking over, was equally as amazing. There were so many photos of just like different points of history there. There's an energy that you get when you get on the land. It was just super liberating. Did you want to come, Dorian?
Yeah, I think this might be, I just pulled up Wikipedia because this can give a description.
Yeah,
so Fred Allen Hampton Sr. Was an American activist who came to prominence in Chicago as deputy chairman of the National Black Panther Party and chair of the Illinois chapter. As a progressive African American, he founded the anti-racist, anti-class Rainbow Coalition, a prominent multicultural organization that initially included Black Panthers, Young Patriots, which was organized for whites, and the Young Lords, which organized Hispanics, as well as an alliance among major Chicago street gangs to help them end infighting and work for social change. A Marxist-Leninist, Hampton considered fascism to be the greatest threat, saying nothing is more important than stopping fascism because fascism will stop us all. Yeah. And then one other thing to really get into this is that Fred Hampton was assassinated.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So most people don't know about COINTELPRO, right? So COINTELPRO was a unit created by the FBI to take down the leaders of the Panthers, the BLA, the Young Lords, and just anyone who
Communist Party, Socialist Party, any group, the Weathermen, any radical group, the COINTELPRO was making illicit choices to eliminate, and people as I'll say soft liberal as MLK, COINTELPRO was out. They were recording his extramarital affairs and sending tape recordings to his wife to try to damage his reputation.
Yes.
Malcolm X with Nation of Islam, basically, gigantic infiltration program.
Yes. And also, I mean, COINTELPRO is responsible for a lot of our political prisoners who are still incarcerated. Actually, we're having an event August 20th called Curb Fest, where we're bringing awareness and asking our community to send letters of love to our political prisoners, because there are still folks who were a part of the Black Panther movement, who were a part of the Black Liberation Army, part of the Young Lords, and I'm sure the Patriots and other groups who are still incarcerated. We're talking about a movement that was going on in the 50s and 60s. Folks that's 60, 70 years ago. Folks are still incarcerated. And so we must continue to fight for them. They gave their lives for us so that we could have some sort of liberation. And so it's only right that we continue to show them support. So it'll be August 20th at the People's Church, where the Young Lords started their movement in New York City. They took over the church. I didn't even get to tell you, Jordan, we met the Chicago Young Lords, Chicago chapter of the Young Lords.
Holy shit.
Yes, we did. The Purple Berets, that's what they're called. We definitely met them. We're in community with them. So I got to tell you what happened. I have to tell you what happened. So we go there. We're waiting for Chairman Fred Hampton Jr. to come and give us a tour of the space. And we were really just expecting to, maybe sit in community with him, talk to him about his experience, get, some legacy, some information from him, and get a tour. So we're waiting for him. As we're standing, there's some young people across the street who are operating a car wash. So in true Holla fashion, we go over, because we're all about community. So we go over, we're talking to the young people, we're talking to the elders that are like just, watching them. And then we got into this deep build about like why they're doing this car wash. We all gave donations to support them, even though we didn't have any cars for them to wash. And so the young people were super fucking powerful. Like, we're out here because we want to stop the violence in our communities. Like, we don't want all this killing. We don't want all the shooting. We don't want all the drugs. And so we're out here trying to find creative ways for young people to make money so they don't have to be in the street. That's what the little 12-year-old boy told us, right? And so one of our leaders asked, had he ever lost someone to gun violence? And the young man started to cry. So we all communed around him, me first, in like this really deep hug. It was like a communal hug. And we just got in circle with the young people and kind of just started speaking over them and, talking about their abilities to just be leaders in their community and how it's so important for them to know that they have everything that they need to change the culture of their communities. And showing up to the car wash every day is a start, because it's a power of example, and continue to dream about different ways to involve other young people. So that happened, which spilled over into an even bigger circle with these young people, Chairman Fred Hampton Jr. and the Young Lords. So we were in the middle of Chicago, in front of the Hampton House, in this big healing circle. Do you hear me? And then another young lady came. So more young people came, and another young lady starts to cry. She's 9. So we asked her, how can we support? And she said that she lost her dad to gun violence like 2 years ago. And she was just having a memory of it. And so we poured libations for her father, and just lifted him up and lifted her up. And, everyone kind of just shared the spirits of their ancestors that have passed on. It was just amazing. Right. And then we connected those young people with the chairman, because even though they were journeying across the street from each other, and another point that the chairman brought up, the schools over the last few years took Black history out of the young people's curriculum. So they're not getting Black history at all. Not even the Martin Luther Kings and the Malcolm X stories. Nothing. And with that, parents have kind of been separated from the legacy and the history behind Fred Hampton and the Hampton House, or even the movement of Fred Hampton Jr., or even the Young Lords. So these young activists are journeying on one side of the street, and then you got the legacy and the foundation across the street, and there's no communication. So we were able to bridge the gap between them, which was amazing. We were also able to connect with them too. So we're looking to do more work with them. So that happened. After that, we went into the Hampton House. Chairman gave us a tour, talked to us about the movie. So I found out that like he definitely, majority of what is in the movie is fact, because he co-directed the movie. He also told us that this was not the first attempt to create a movie around his father, but folks did not want to give a true narrative.
And are you talking about Judas and the Black Messiah?
Yes,
that film?
The Black Messiah. Yes. So he definitely co-directed that.
Yes. I have, just on a personal note, so my wife is a violinist, and our friend Lady Jess, who we're going to have on the podcast, she's organized all the strings for that movie.
Are you serious?
Yeah, Jess is on that movie. And my wife was going to be on that film, but the recording date was our daughter's due date. So she didn't take it. But there's I know most of the string players from this movie soundtrack to that film.
Dorian.
Which is just kind of a interesting thing. And it's like, the thing that's so funny is, of course, our daughter got born a week after her due date. But we know that if my wife had said yes to the recording session, she would have gone into labor like in studio. Like, anyways,
I actually have to watch the movie again, because he definitely encouraged us to really watch it with a critical lens. I think I was watching it to get a gist of the story the first time. But I'm definitely going to watch it with a more critical lens the next time. Also, what I learned is the woman who was in the movie, who was in the shootout with the police, she was originally a fictitious character, but there is someone who is currently with the organization who is just like that character, like the same boldness, the same strength, the same like togetherness and organizational skills. And we got to meet her too. So shout out to the comrades.
Wow.
So that was awesome. What did we do next? So we did that. And then afterwards, Chairman went to the conference because he was on a panel. And so I didn't get to meet his mom, but the rest of the team got to meet his mom and got to be in community with her.
And you're talking about Akua Najeri, correct? Yeah. Who,
so I'm glad I didn't get to meet her. I wanted to cry, but we had another interview. She
was in bed with Fred Sr. when he was assassinated.
Another point that he told us about. So Jay-Z created a song, I'm not sure what song it was, where he mentioned Fred Hampton. And in the original song, he said that Fred Hampton got shot. And so Fred Hampton Jr. actually did a rebuttal, you can't use that. That's not, because if we're going to talk about it, we're going to talk about the truth. And so there was all this controversy, and folks were telling him, you should just be happy that he's mentioning him. And, I don't think you should make a big deal about it. But he fought, and Jay-Z changed the lyrics to say that Fred Hampton Jr. was assassinated. Also, he spoke about when they were creating the movie, the director originally had the script where the police officer the Panther shot first. And he had to fight to have that piece changed. And he was asking us, why do you think that's important? And I said, because if it looks if the narrative is that the Panther shot first, then it justifies the police's action. But the fact that the police shot first shows that they were hunting. And I know most people see that part in the movie and it happens so fast, you can easily miss the gravity of that moment. And last thing that I got from him, he had a photo on the wall of a bunch of police officers. So we asked him like what the photo signified. Those were the police officers. I actually think I have a photo of it. Those were the police officers who shot his father in bed with his mom. They drugged him and shot him. Make sure we make that clear. They carried his body out and was screaming and laughing in the community that Chairman Fred Hampton was dead and that there will never be another like him. And he gave us a very important piece of history. So on, I believe it was December 4th, 1969, Chairman Fred Hampton was assassinated by the FBI. On December 5th, 1969, the police went into Maywood, which is where Chairman was from, which is a 21-block radius, and took all of the men and boys out of the house and made them come out in the street and told them that there will never be another Fred Hampton. And if anybody thought that they were going to stand up in that way, they would end up dead just like him. Yep. And that was a very just hard truth to hear. Last thing, I learned that Fred Hampton Jr. was 21, I think, when he was assassinated. So all of the fight, his first fight, like against, the FBI started following him when he was 14 years old. Because that's when he started his journey as an activist. He was, I believe it was something to do with a young man in school. And from then on, FBI was following him because they couldn't believe that this young person was so strong and had this strong following in the community. He organized his first march. I think he was about 16 years old. And with no phone, no social media, none of that, he was able to organize 400 people. Yeah.
There's to get a little bit into this as well, Bill O'Neill, who is the Judas of the story, just to really get into this. I mean, we've experienced this with young people all over the place that we've worked with abusive power relationships. But Bill O'Neill was what was he? A car stealer. He used to steal cars.
Yes, a car thief. Yes.
Yeah, he was younger than Fred Hampton, and they basically used fear to take this young kid who was trying to make ends meet. They threatened him with life in prison, or infiltration, and he chose infiltration. Of the Black Panthers. And he actually, I believe, was the one who made the map of Fred Hampton's apartment. But to make it even heavier is that man committed suicide.
Yes.
Due to his involvement with this, because he didn't believe in the mission, but he was feared into it. You know, he was a young man who was taken advantage of. And, there's a part where it's like, of course, you do wish he could have been, I don't want to say stronger, but I'll say stronger, that to resist the influence of the fear in his own body. However, we have seen time and time again people who have taken sentences just to get the police out of their lives, or there's an incident I know about of a woman who had been arrested for a drug raid. This was here in New York a couple of years ago, but the woman was arrested on a drug raid, of her apartment. She was completely innocent, had nothing to do with any of this. She was in jail at Rikers for 2 months and had been away from her kids for 2 months. There was no father around. So she took a plea for a crime she did not commit, received probation and a felony.
Yes.
And then a few months later, the raid had been shown to be false, and this woman still had the felony because she had already been charged. And the process of going back to prove that she was wrongfully convicted. Right. So I mean, this, the story with Bill O'Neill and Fred Hampton is not new.
No, also very much alive.
Mm-hmm.
Very much alive.
And it is important for our young people to learn solidarity in resistance, because Bill O'Neill did not have a support network to go to.
Yes, and that's always a tricky one because, solidarity is important. But with the uptick in violence, like, did you hear about the young man recently? What was his name? Jamal? I wanna have his name correct. Give me 1 second. I think he was shot 60 times.
Are you talking about in Akron, Ohio?
Yes. Yeah. Jalen Walker.
Yeah.
He was just shot 60 times by the police for a traffic stop.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's just a hard place to be. It's a hard place to be, and I mean, this is a part of the conversation, right? I remember when Trayvon Martin was murdered. And then we had Eric Garner, and there was a lot of conversation about the hard conversation that parents have to have with their Black and brown boys around how to engage the police, right? And luckily my son was very small when it happened. And I definitely kept him in the loop of what was going on in the world, but he doesn't journey outside yet by himself. But I could only imagine the fear of telling your child, you just make it home. Because at that point, as a parent, from a parental perspective, you can't think about the fight. You can't think about the cause. You can't think about the struggle. When you are looking your own child in their eye and you are teaching them how to teeter the line of life and death, you're telling them to make it home. And sometimes that looks like taking a plea, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Sometimes that looks like surrendering to, sometimes that looks like surrendering to police, even when you are not wrong. And so, yes, there is conversation around solidarity. And I think we got a stronger conversation in terms of the work. But when it's being outside in the world, in the jungle, in the matrix of all of this, I'm just saying, make it home, and I can't judge a person who has to make that decision. Especially thinking about William O'Neill, right? Like his story is similar to Central Park 5, right? Young people, when they are in a place of fear and duress, will fold. And we're talking about a time, I think the movie gave a perspective, his perspective, right? you're sitting in the office with these white guys, right? And you've committed a crime and they're telling you that you might go to jail for 20, 25 years and all that crap, right? So as a young person, tomorrow feels like a long time, but you're going to tell me I'm going to be gone from my family and from my life for 25 years, right? Of course, I'm going to make a decision to whatever decision I can make to stay free, which is something that we see all the time in Rikers Island. Every 99% of those young people are coerced into taking felony charges because they are leveraged with their freedom. Not about whether they are innocent or guilty, right? But then thinking about a system, because they showed a part where they had another informant and they had him killing people and they had him killing other informants. So now it's not even about jail time. Now it's life or death. Now it's life or death. And am I going to choose death over for stealing a car? So I don't know. Sadly,
no, you're right.
These are things that are happening in the 50s and 60s, and we're talking about it in 22. And we're seeing it show up in a real way in 22. And I'm frustrated too that the system is able to hide it. Because I feel like as a professional in Rikers Island, I was taken aback at the frequency of folks taking felony charges without even fighting a case. Like, I thought everyone was getting due process. I do understand that, like, public defenders are overworked. I do understand that they're probably in bed with the prosecutors. I do understand that. I watch a lot of criminal shows too, and I'm a conspiracy theorist to some degree. So I'll say that. But to know that, like, this system is not even attempting to work, like, and we're infringing upon a lot of these young people's rights as per the law. I was just marching with a young man named Prakash who had been, and you guys can look up his story. Prakash was incarcerated, I believe, at 16. They alleged that he was carrying a weapon and potentially shot or robbed someone on school property. And the prosecutor for his case was just found guilty this year for falsifying evidence and coercing folks to give false statements. But Prakash has been fighting this case for 7 years. And Prakash spent, I believe, 3 years or 4 years on Rikers Island for a crime he did not commit. And the only reason he was acquitted was because there was a statute in the law that said that he could not be interrogated in the way that he was at his age when he allegedly committed the crime. And I am sure, almost positive, that all of the young people that are filtering these punishment systems have probably been interrogated in the same way, but aren't getting access to law library to even know that this statute exists. Prakash found this statute on his own. His lawyer didn't find it. He found it in the law library. But people are not getting law library. Also, some don't even have the literary skills to articulate the law, to defend themselves. And even if in the best case, they were able to find this law, don't have adequate representation to fight. They have lawyers who are telling them, oh, we're going to give you a program. Surprisingly, every young person is entitled to a YO status. That's a youth offender status. Young people aren't even being offered YO status. That's the opportunity to have your record expunged once you turn 18, so long as you no longer commit crime. And before I go any further on this tangent, right? most of these crimes that we're seeing are a result of crime generative factors. They're results of homelessness. They're results of poverty. They're results of being in the ACS system. They're results of living in low income, marginalized neighborhoods. So back to our conversation from last week, we are punishing young people for not being able to submit to a system that is broken. And then we're filtering through further broken systems, right? And then at the basic level, expecting them to, and I guess for us as a community, expecting them to show up in a different way or stand up in a different way when really the only choices are life or death. Yeah.
So this is going to be a statement just very briefly to any of the white folks listening to this recording. I just want to say that this is an education moment for you to reflect on your own sense of privilege, because if you notice, to be blunt, I would consider myself a white person who's very much in the fight, for the fight, and my own blind spots went right to solidarity. And without being aware that is barely going to stop the circumstance that that DeMarisa was just bringing attention to. And so this is what we mean when we say white privilege. It's not that you have an easy life. It's not that there is not torment or oppression happening. It is that there are blind spots that you're completely oblivious to because you are not subjected to it. And I don't want to make it all of a sudden a white-centric conversation anymore. I wanted to put that in there, that you can be completely politically awakened or politically open and still have blind spots. And it's those moments that you need to step back and just shut up and listen and offer support.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways.
I love you, Dorian.
Well, I mean, it's...
yeah.
Yeah, it's important. It's important.
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask you a little bit about Fred Hampton Jr. What's he like?
He's like his dad. It's so eerie and empowering and like, whoa, he looks just like his dad. He sounds just like his dad. It's like a legacy extended. You know what? People are not spiritual cool, like whatever. I do believe in some sort of transitioning after the transition, right? The narrative in terms of the movie is that his mom was pregnant with him when his father passed on, right? Was assassinated. I definitely believe that he is a reincarnate. I definitely believe that he is a reincarnate. Same fight, same tenacity, just everything, mannerisms, and being in that made me feel like I was a Panther. First of all, I'm a Panther Cub. I forgot to acknowledge that, right? My mom and dad were both Panthers. And they also did work with the Black Liberation Army. Sadly, because of white supremacy and because of COINTELPRO, though a lot of people of color who were in service at that time, in terms of like the Panthers, the Young Lords, people part of the Rainbow Coalition, they kind of removed that history from their families because, for a number of reasons, right? Propaganda made the Panthers seem like troublemakers. And so a lot of Black and brown people just really didn't want no affiliation with that. Don't bring that to the dinner table. But also after the assassination of chairman and other members and pillars in the community, people were afraid to say they were affiliated.
I mean, literally watch fucking Forrest Gump, an unassuming, film about hope is the way it's presented. the Panthers are basically portrayed as if they're the Black KKK. And it's, you know, like, and I love Forrest Gump. I love that movie. Not going to front.
I do.
But just, you know, that's the popular portrayal, is that the Black Panthers are aligned in the same way that the fucking Ku Klux Klan is, which is absolutely ridiculous.
Yes.
Black Panthers was a community organization fighting for the right to live a life of dignity.
Yes.
The Ku Klux Klan is trying to snuff out people that they do not see worthy of living. It's
a quick point. The Black Panther Party was originally the Black Panther Party for self-defense. They were not trying to come in and assassinate a group of people or wipe out a group of people. They were not forming just against white supremacy. They were forming against oppression. Sorry, go ahead, Dorian.
No. That was all I was going to say. So you were continuing about a lot of families have deleted that history.
So a lot of families omitted that piece of history from the dinner table, from the legacy. Like, that didn't get passed down. People were made to feel ashamed for their participation in this party, or just didn't want this negative connotation or reputation. So I'm the daughter of 2 Black Panthers, but I remember my parents mentioning it. I remember talking to but I didn't really get the wisdom until my father was in his last months of life, right before his transition. And even in that, I was still very much learning the history, and I'm still learning the history of the Black Panther Party, because it's just a lot to digest. I've been in about 5 meetings with Baba Sekou, who is one of the 21, right? 21 were the political prisoners for the Black Panther Party who went to prison for their activism. And I've been in 5 or 6 meetings with him, and it just landed when we went to Chicago and told Chairman that we are in community with him. The spirit of homage that he paid to him spoke volumes, right? And it just signified to me that I'm missing out on the gym, right? But yeah, so to that point, a lot of folks served, but most people just don't know because we weren't allowed to pass that history. And a part of silence, that's a part of the war too. It's stripping us of our culture, it's stripping us of our history. Chairman gave this quote. He said, talking to this point, he said, if a trainer trains an elephant, the trainer steps on the cup. If an elephant sees the trainer step on the cup, why does the trainer send him to slaughter? What do you think, Dorian?
Because the elephant will fight back.
Right. Yeah. So, and we were just lost in the cosmos. But if the elephant sees the trainer step on the cup, and then the elephant steps on the cup and realizes his true power, he's going to be like, how the hell is it all of us in here and we're letting this little trainer control us, right? And it's the same concept. So they silence the history, they suppress the history, they take it out of the history books, they don't allow us to learn, because the fear is that we will unite and fight. And they did a good job. Because I am 35 years old and really just now absorbing the history of the Black Panther Party, even having 2 parents who were a part of that movement and the Black Liberation Army.
I mean, just to get into this, I'm going to name a couple of famous historical figures who were active socialists, and we never, ever hear about their political positions. But you ever hear of Albert Einstein?
Yes.
or Helen Keller.
Yes.
They were both socialists. They were both a part of the fight against depression. We never hear that.
No.
We never hear that.
No.
Ever. Helen Keller was literally a member of the IWW.
Wow.
Einstein wrote an article called Why I Am a Socialist, where he literally says, normally, I don't think it is wise to, I'll have to pull the actual quote up, but summarizing, he says, normally it is unwise for me to speak on something I don't know anything about. However, socialism is a people's movement, and so therefore I feel justified to speak on this. Never gets mentioned, ever. And make it even deeper when you've got people who are not just thinkers, but are activists within the spaces. Huey Newton, Fred Hampton, Malcolm X, any of them. Just completely silenced, completely deleted. Why do you think we focus on MLK's peaceful protests or nonviolence, civil disobedience? Why do you think that's out of all the civil rights activists of that era, we focus on one individual who, like, I'm not even gonna, pretend like it wasn't important what he was doing. Like, it's incredibly important, but they focus on one individual who is using one particular kind of tactic when his agenda was literally to create an image. I don't know. I'm kind of rambling, but
they want, when I say they, the system want us to conform, and they always perpetuate the narrative of Dr. Martin Luther King conforming. When Dr. Martin Luther King got another speech where he's kind of giving some jewels. And that's part of the reason why he was assassinated. He was assassinated because he started talking about pooling economics and boycotting capitalism. He was like,
boycotting the Vietnam War.
We're not doing that. And when we say we're not, you're not. Nobody. We started that with the bus boycott. We should have continued. And he said, and I'm summarizing, but he definitely said, we were peaceful over here. That ain't work. We were peaceful over there. That ain't work. So y'all already know what we got to do. But they're not, they don't coin that part. They don't talk about that part. And don't be fooled. A lot of information gets redacted. So what the Dr. King I Have a Dream speech is today is not all of what it was when it happened.
Exactly.
Because there's information that they just don't want us to hear, right?
Exactly.
I'm starting to see my brows are sweating.
Yeah, all good. Well, this is just to really show how all of this is interconnected.
Yes.
When we talk about Angela Davis and her entire experience with being a fugitive and being incarcerated, for a while and going to trial and everything. This is all in relation to the Soledad brothers, who were two wrongfully imprisoned individuals. George Jackson is the one that I'm way more familiar with, but George Jackson, I know, was in prison for basically stealing $70 worth of food, I think.
Yeah.
But they gave him life in prison. It was like a 1 to life kind of sentence, and so
which is what they're doing currently.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
and so George Jackson's brother went to courthouse and held the judge hostage. Ended up killing the judge. Did he kill himself? I'm brain farting. he died, and
right.
it's all of this is connected to Angela Davis, who was accused of supplying the weapons, which I don't believe she did. And she went on the run because she was a Black woman and an active communist. And, she had been directly interested in starting to become politically active after seeing Malcolm X come through France and speak. And she was blown away at just how direct Malcolm X was to a mostly white audience, how combative he was, but how brilliant he was. He was just up there with no fear. But the reason I bring this up is that Angela Davis spoke about how traumatizing MLK's assassination was, because in the more radical areas of the Black liberation struggle, MLK was seen as a sort of a gentle liberal. Like, he's doing good work, but he's not really aligned with like what we're trying to get across. And when he was assassinated, she said that was an eye opener across the entire movement, because it was like, wait a second. He was playing by the fucking rules.
Right.
He was playing as close as you could get, and they still fucking killed him once he stepped out of line. Also, there are tons of political cartoons from the 60s, if you look in like the National Review, that basically show MLK actually promoting violence but doing speech bubbles around like this is a nonviolent movement. And it is literally the same shit you see today with BLM. How the amount of white folks in general, but conservatives of all colors really, speak about these violent protests and these riots that BLM is promoting, which they're not, and they're not looking at the rioting and the violence as a response to much deeper systemic issues. And it's just, the whole thing is very disturbing.
It's very disturbing.
Yeah.
It's very disturbing. It's business as usual. I wanted to point out too, I don't know if you remember from the movie, Chairman Fred Hampton was, the first attack on him was, he was incarcerated and charged with stealing $70 worth of ice cream and attacking the ice cream man, right? And so Chairman Jr. told us that the person who actually did it went to the police and confessed. And the police said, "We don't want you, we want him." Yes. And so I don't know exactly how much time, but I believe he spent a significant amount of time in prison for a crime that he did not commit, a crime that was admitted to by the person that actually committed it, as a tactic to silence the movement.
Fred Hampton Jr. was incarcerated for arson. An arson that he did not commit. It was during the LA riots. He was sentenced to 18 years, went in 92 and was paroled in 2001. This is Fred Hampton Jr. Incarceration is the weapon of choice. Just to go into the Soledad brothers for a moment, and this is only because George Jackson wrote a book that I encourage everybody to check out called Blood in My Eyes, and it's about fascism. And it just on a personal note, this book was actually a major. I've got all my books on fascism up here, but this was a big, insightful space on what fascism is. In that he describes it as not an ideology, but more of a process of organizing structured authoritarian hierarchy. And that it does not have to be a government run organization. You can be a fascist and have no political power whatsoever. It's about the behavior, not where you are currently in time and space, but it's about the behavior that you're projecting, the way that you are navigating and processing through life. And one point that he brings up is that poor people of color have been and continue to, and I believe this book's from 1972, but poor people of color objectively live in a fascist regime. Even when not everybody in the United States is necessarily living under a fascist regime. But poor people of color are going through exactly what happens to any oppressed group in a fascist empire. And so, yeah, it's a really, really great book on understanding the world. And then also, I mean, just to connect all of this, but George Jackson, from what I believe, he was killed in prison due to he was doing an escape attempt, and he was doing an escape attempt, and I believe an officer was killed during the attempt, and so in retaliation, George was killed. But his murder created ripples within prisons, and he was a major part of the Attica prison riots. So, you know, just to really put all of this together, I mean, you know, Angela Davis, Assata Shakur, Fred Hampton Jr., Hala, fucking Maderi music. It's like it's all, yeah, but it's all connected to this. I mean, it really is not just singular events and singular stories. These are networks that it's ripple effects. And,
yeah. Whoa.
I wondered if, before we bring this to a close, do you have any of the videos that you might want to show from your experience?
Yeah, I can show a clip. One second, let me get set up really quick. Sorry, guys. Get set up. I thought I was set up already, but I guess that did not happen. But yeah, while I'm setting up, I just want to say, am I frozen, Dorian? With a weird face?
No, you were for like a second, now you're not.
Okay. Sorry, guys. I like to be really real. Really real. There was a point that I wanted to share. And so another point of my trip, the close on my final day, two things happened. One, I went to a place called Humble Park with some of the young lords. And we did a healing circle there and we're just in community in a very creative way. So that was awesome. The young people from the car wash, we helped them do a promotional video for their business on TikTok. So that happened. And I ended my Chicago trip by going to a Chicago barbecue. And it was like 100 people in it. It was like a backyard barbecue. And I really got to be in community with folks. So that was good. I know everybody, when they think of Chicago and they think about the fight, they think about O Block. I definitely wanted to go to O Block. I just couldn't find someone to make the connection. And I didn't want to go to O Block as a tourist. I wasn't going there for the King Von mural or whatever mural is there. I'm sorry, no disrespect, but the mural. I wasn't going for that because that's what tourists go for. I was going to really be in community with people, with young people, because I do understand how propaganda shapes our views of places. And oftentimes what you are receiving and digesting in the media is not the truth. In the same way they've done all of these folks that we just mentioned. But that also gives me a reason to return back to Chicago with a different fire and a different level of intention. So O Block, if this gets to you, I'm definitely coming to see you guys and be in community, right? And Dorian's gonna be with me. We're gonna do some Madiri music work in there. Oh no. I was ready and now I'm not.
Yeah, and while you get this last part ready, just to really dive into, there is a very large history. There's a large history of activist organizations coming out of Chicago, as well as really great music organizations. The Art Ensemble of Chicago, as well as the Association for the Advancement of Creative Musicians, are all based out of Chicago. The IWW, which is the Industrial Workers of the World, as well as the Communist Party USA, are all based out of Chicago. There's even, just to say this, Al Capone, the famous mobster, is out of Chicago, and we know that radical politics and criminal organization or organized crime come out of the same place, same economic struggles. One is a more destructive path, and one is a more, I don't want to say righteous, but one is a more emancipatory path. And there's a large history that Chicago has that really is a lot of what we're trying to push forward on this podcast. So
yeah. All right, Dorian, I'm ready.
All right, you ready? So check this out.
That's all cut up on my own family. Right. You know what I'm saying, sis? Right. You got to combat liberalism. You come through the door and say, okay, this is this, this is that. I'm telling you, it's these dogs now. I can tell you which one I'm about, which one I'm I can tell you what's happening. Now, the outside world don't know. Structure. You know what I'm saying? Shakespeare said, that self be true. He wasn't even in school yet. This Fred happened before he was Chairman Fred. His older brother, some white boys had a concert them, beat him up. Fred Hampton took a wagon full of bottles, went over across the street and beat the white boys up. He wasn't even in school yet. And so we've been here knowing he, you name it. I'm gonna start on the other backgrounds with the picture together.
Yeah, so that was one of the videos. He was sharing some history about Freddie Hampton when he was a young person. And a young man got beat up really badly by a group of young white boys. And so I believe he was like 12 or so, and he went outside with a bunch of bottles, and him and the young boy like fought back. And I think that's where his activism started. But also he was talking about combating liberalism. And the part that stuck out to me is him talking about the need for structure and the need for being really super aware in a way that the outside just doesn't understand. I think that's the plight of a lot of our movements, is that we constantly telling the people what we gonna do instead of just doing what we need to do and letting like-minded folks know exactly what we're doing. And I think that's the beauty of Madiri music. You know what I mean? I think Dorian said a lot, and I definitely said a lot about what we need to do. So yeah, so that was just a clip from my trip. Dorian, I wish you could have been there to just experience the nostalgia. It's beautiful.
It'll happen. Yeah, it'll happen.
Yeah, but we'll be back.
Yeah, absolutely. And with that, I wanted to share just a text that I actually sent to Marisa yesterday. This is from one of our heroes, which is /4.
That's I'm always channeling Asada energy. Yeah, that's why I want to be in the movement. Asada. Go ahead, go for it.
Yeah, so she writes, this is the 21st century and we need to redefine revolution. This planet needs people, revolution, a humanist revolution. Revolution is not about bloodshed or about going to the mountains and fighting. We will fight if we are forced to, but the fundamental goal of revolution must be peace. We need a revolution of the mind, a revolution of the heart. We need a revolution of the spirit. The power of the people is stronger than any weapon. A people's revolution can't be stopped. We need to be weapons of mass construction. Weapons of mass love. It's not enough just to change the system. We need to change ourselves. We have got to make this world user-friendly. User-friendly. Are you ready to sacrifice to end world hunger? To sacrifice to end colonialism, to end neo-colonialism, to end racism, to end sexism? Revolution means to end the end of exploitation. Revolution means respecting people from other cultures. Revolution is creative. Revolution means treating your mate as a friend and an equal. Revolution is sexy. Revolution means respecting and learning from your children. Revolution is beautiful. Revolution means protecting the people, the plants, the animals, the air, the water. Revolution means saving this planet. Revolution is love. Asada /4.
Asada! It is our duty to fight for our freedom. It is our duty to win. We must love each other and support each other. We have nothing to lose but our chains. Yes, Asada. Come on, Dorian.
Yeah.
Asada, cooker.
With that, this is Maderi Music. Again, y'all can find us at Maderi Music. That's music, MUZIK.com.
Yes.
Where we're starting to put up the programs that we're offering. If you like what we're doing and would like to support us, because we currently live in a capitalist culture where you need money to get by, but you can support us on Patreon, with the link in the show notes. And yeah, there's a lot of cool shit going on there. We got some posts going on. And yeah, with that, we'll see you next time.
See you next time.